Hello, good morning.
Hey Saul, how are you? Good morning. Hey Julian, how are you?
Hey, Rachel. Hi, everyone.
Alright.
Good morning.
I do have one update, somewhat outreachy, but I have been working on a regulatory blog series and I'm finishing it up with our GRC, but we've had to delay it by 2 days because everything is so active at the end of the year. We have active emails coming in from other agencies. It's so interesting. So I'm really excited for the updates from all that, but thank you to all the members of the GRC because they've been getting a lot of work done. It's very cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. Is GRC part of the CCC?
Yes, so
Yeah.
this is our governance, regulation, and compliance. And specifically in this case, we have to provide a bunch of documentation that can be verified within a matrix if we're doing it with MITRE or NIST. And so, like, for example, so if you look at the recordings from our attestation special interest group this week, like just listen to it in the background. It was one of the best discussions I've ever heard between like regulators and all of our attestation engineers and a couple of cryptographers. It was so incredibly information dense. It's definitely worth checking out, and we should pull some content from that. I think it'll be available, it should be available today. The
Mhm.
attestation seg recording, go check that out.
Yeah, definitely. And please share that with us. And because I understand last time in the last meeting, we had this item to have a blog post following our messaging guide. And so that would be great if we can utilize some of the content from the blog post that you've done and for this working group and then for the outreach committee in the future to have like blog posts once we deliver the messaging guide. So that's great update. Thanks for sharing that, Saul. Hey Laura, hey Dave, how are you?
Good. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. So Ab will not be here today and he's sick, and so I'll be driving the meeting on behalf of him. So let me go ahead and share the meeting minutes. And so today, we will go over a couple agenda items. And first of all, we will review the latest edits and feedback that were added to the CC messaging guide V1. So we're able to bring this to outreach committee and governing board and October for their feedback and review. So the official feedback window was closed on Tuesday this week. And so we're able to gather all the feedback from them. And so from now on, our focus for this working group is to collaboratively review these edits and address these feedback before we bring it to next week's outreach committee for final approval. So that is the first item. Julian, would you like to pull up the document and help lead the conversation? And I would like to have everyone review the document and make sure that all the feedback is addressed. So appreciate everyone's review and input.
Sure, I can go over some of the feedback. There wasn't a lot of feedback, but there was some comments that was made during the review with the governing board also. I can kind of had some notes on that I can summarize. Can I share, Rachel? I may have to.
Yep.
Thanks. Okay, so, right. So, maybe before I kind of go over this one by one, I think we presented this last week or 2 weeks back to the governing board. So there were a couple of comments. I think Chris Framing and Ron Perez, I think both of them mentioned that it would be good if we can kind of add some details about non-cloud scenarios also. Ron especially mentioned some not necessarily new use cases themselves, but asking if we can incorporate something like non-cloud use cases for retail privacy, medical use cases, and so on, and a bit more whether it makes sense to add some federated learning kind of use cases, which is again in a non-cloud scenario. So that's kind of one comment which would be good to discuss in this forum here, to see how and where we can incorporate some of those messaging as well. So we have a couple of options. One is to kind of include that in use case 2. That I think would be a good place to do that. So explicitly mention how confidential computing enables some federated or distributed collaboration for use case 2. That's kind of one option. And also maybe in use case 3, but I'm kind of curious to kind of know what everyone else thinks about that comment. Any other comments or suggestions on how to incorporate that would be good.
Yeah, I also pasted the link in the chat, so everyone, you can use that link and to review the document.
So, yes, if there's no specific feedback, then I'll work on incorporating that into use case 2 potentially. And most of the other comments, at least formatting kind of comments, I think we did kind of accept or incorporate them. Where else? Is there anything else? Any specific comment to go by? Oh, there are a few. Yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
So Julian, before we move on to other feedback, so for the and federated learning, and would that be a more fit for AI use case or multi-party collaboration?
Multi-party collaboration, definitely. AI is just a subset of that. I believe.
Yeah, that's true. And so AI, for example, at least the way AI models are trained right now, multi-party collaboration for training a model specifically is, I don't think the industry is there yet, is my feeling. But collaboration in terms of one person provide the compute and the person querying, that I think that is what we have already incorporated here. But if we are really thinking about a learning or a training process itself, that is multi-party where different vendors or parties are contributing data or different layers of a model. That I think we are a bit too early for that.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. And because if federated learning, before you share that feedback in and would fall under either category. And so after you mention that, it makes sense to put it under multi-party collaboration. And also for the non-cloud use cases, and this is kind of seeking feedback from this working group. And are there any use cases that we can look into for the non-cloud provider use cases for either of those scenario?
So generally, you can distribute confidential computing between cloud and then IoT. And so anything that runs or utilizes our islet open source project is definitely going to be an example of attempted multi-party or at least multi-TE on
What is
an
the name of the
IoT.
project you mentioned,
So
Sal?
this is islet, ISLET. I'll throw the GitHub in the note.
I can take a look at that.
On-device computing platform.
Right. Okay. Maybe one option would be to kind of, for some of the use cases that we already have, also add a paragraph saying how confidential computing enables the same use case in a non-cloud setting. So I do think that we did try to be more cloud specific. That was one of the initial feedbacks that we got as well, based on the analyst review from previous years to tailor this a bit more towards cloud. So we can definitely include a paragraph on uh, using confidential computing for more distributed, non-cloud kind of learning as well. I think I can take an action item on that.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Julian. And Laura also shared a great feedback that we could also highlight Agilist's use case of protecting LLMs. If you can share a link to the document in the group, that'd be great, and we can look into this. And thanks for
Uh,
sharing that.
I didn't follow. So this is which link, Rachel? The one that was sent
Oh,
in
it
the
was
chat?
in the chat. Yeah, there was
Okay.
a link shared by Saul and also a link, a comment shared by Laura that we can highlight Agilist's use case of protecting LLMs. So I
Okay.
was asking if Laura could provide us with the document link so that we can explore this further.
Yeah, so I do remember going through the Edge an article by Edgeless Systems while looking at the supply chain use case. If I remember correctly, it was something to do with reproducible bills and so on. I could be misremembering, but
So
I do.
I apologize if my background noise is really loud. I've been having so many issues with my computer. But basically, edgeless. So Rachel specifically asked about what are the external, what is not a cloud use case, right? And Sal answered that from one use case, and then another one is the edgeless LLM. So they protect LLMs, but they're not using the cloud environment to always do that. They do a lot on-prem, and so I can send a link to some of their blogs, et cetera, that talk about that technology because it is different than just the cloud, the traditional cloud solution.
Great, that'd be helpful. And are edgeless LLMs related to edgeless as the startup edgeless, or are there different things?
So it's actually Continuum AI is the edgeless offering.
I see. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, I can definitely take a look at that as well. That'd be helpful. I'm not necessarily planning to include a fourth use case, but any new information from that, we can try to integrate into the existing use cases and provide people more information on.
Just a quick note, I did just check. So at KubeCon just next week, we are getting a recording about this AI use case from Edgeless. So we should have content on this for you available very soon.
Okay, great. Okay, I think that is most of the feedback. Hoping to incorporate them by maybe end of this week or early next week. Anything else to go over? So there were a couple of comments here by Nukri and Yulia. I think, are they here today? I don't think so. So I think there was some comments on using Web 3.0, if I remember correctly. I don't have much to add on that. If there is more content here, we can kind of discuss that more. The comments, I think most of this we kind of incorporated. I didn't quite follow the comments from Emily here. Other comments from Emily, I think we already accepted or incorporated. I think Emily was specifically referring to the Excel sheet that was put together, right?
Yeah, so I can provide updates for the marketing message spreadsheet. And so I did speak with Jen Shelby on this, and then and marketing message is usually for blog post purpose. It's more for Jen Shelby's team and to kind of get guidance from the marketing message to write these blog posts. So it would be best to review with her and her team. So we will take this action item and review this with Jen Shelby. Um, and so, yeah, and so that would be separate from the messaging guide.
Okay, great. Okay, that's most of what I have, at least. Maybe back to you, Rachel.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much, Julian. Thank you, everyone, for providing your insights. And we're on track of delivering this and finalizing everything by next week and for final approval at the outreach meeting. So a second agenda item, and let me go back to share my screen for the meeting minutes here. So the next one is more on updates for the items. So one is the analyst engagement. Laura, would you like to speak any updates for that?
Well, so last week, I think everybody hopefully got the email from Kate that basically summarized all of the feedback from this team. So thank you for everyone just leaning into to get that done and wrapped up. And that was sent to IDC, I think on Thursday or Friday, but my dates kind of have worn together. So that's the only update is we do have that that over back to IDC and we'll wait to hear back. I haven't seen anything come in my inbox. I don't know if anybody else did, but I haven't seen anything yet.
Thank you so much, Laura, for the updates. And one thing to add on is that we're also waiting for the 2025 budget, and so that we can get the revised proposal and approved and from the budgetary purpose. So great progress there. Thank you so much, Laura, for driving this. So the other item is marketing message, as I previously updated, and so we'll separate the marketing message from the CC messaging guide and have the marketing message review with Jen Shelby's team and have the CC messaging guide review with the committee and the governing board. So last item is about blog post plans. And so this is a feedback I think raised by the working group last time, and this is regarding creating the blog post. And once we have the messaging guide ready, so for that item, I believe we would need to work with Jen Shelby's team and outreach committee to publish different blog posts. And Saul also mentioned in the beginning that, and she has done some blog posts for GRC, and we can utilize those assets as well. And so those would be more of item after December. So we're probably going to be item next year. And once we have the messaging guide published. Any feedback or advice that this working group would like to share regarding the blog post process?
I will say one thing. So, in the course of putting out these blogs, both the technical and so for the GRC, it's a technical blog post that I'm writing. So it's why they had to go and talk to our attestation engineers, right? But it really helps me if we can work on a general concept or idea or something that like something that you want to communicate, especially if you're trying to put something out to market and you want to get the general foundation of knowledge out there. For me, it works best as a blog series of 3 or 4 blogs because I will then go in and reach out to any of the engineers or the maintainers that would have an opinion or something that they'd like to show us from it. So if I can do that in a larger scope and you give me about 2 months to get it, that's about how long it takes me to get emails back from some of our maintainers. But I can get you a really, really good technical blog.
Yeah, that is great. And so, and then also for an add on to that, like for the purpose of um like why competition computing kind of use cases, and then are there any like blog posts that are currently in plan for more of general audience, so including technical audience and non-technical audience? Any blog posts that's already planned there?
So right now, I have one final post coming out on multi-party compute, which is delayed because of all of the exciting GRC updates. Should be coming out on Thursday. After that, I'm open. I could probably get out another set before the end of the year, but I'd love if you give me a couple of brainstorms on just concepts or like blog topics, right? What could you see 3 or 4 or 5 blog topics around? I'm happy to brainstorm on those as well. Um, but yes, the earlier I can reach out, because to make these really good blogs, they are written in fact by me and then also 3 or 5 engineers at a time. So it takes a little bit of time. So if I can reach out to them before the end of the year, I can get those to you early 2025.
That is awesome, and thank you so much. Yeah, for the topics, and we can use the topics in this messaging guide. So that has multi-party collaboration, which is the one that you're already working on, and other great topics too. And for Gen AI workloads, as well as um, like supply security, so we can include those as other blog post topics to start with. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. So where, actually, this is a good question. At this point, I think starting next week, I'm going to have assets that fit into some of these. For example, that supply chain use case, we're getting a recording on it from Edgeless, right? Where should we be storing the assets around these? Because that's probably a video, and then I can write a blog post.
Yeah, you can upload it to brand repositioning group. There's a resource folder.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, let me also
And
share the link with you.
that's something I can also potentially contribute to, especially the Gen AI kind of use case. So we kind of have a working system internally that we built early this year, which is very similar to the use case that was identified. So we can kind of tune it to the right level of technical detail you would need, Sal, but that's something that I can also potentially contribute to.
Yeah, what would be really, really useful to me is a bit of an information relay race in Q4 of this year to particularly the premium members, but any of the members with a technical roadmap. One of the ways that I've seen in larger Linux Foundation spots where this works really well is going in and looking at like what are your known marketing materials, what are your known like technical assets that you're going to be getting out in Q1 and Q2 of next year. Uh, just looking at the comment here. But if you can get a list of those, I don't need a lot of detail around those. What I actually need is basically an SEO level understanding of your technical roadmap. So, what are the specific aspects that you will want to do marketing around or more research and development around? Both of those things then help me to go and say, all right, there's 6 members that are really interested in this topic, et cetera, and to know when they want those topics to come out. That's how I can write really, really good blogs, because then we're going to link them back to your direct materials when you're getting them out, right? So if we can link them to marketing releases in any way, that's great. Anytime this comes from R&D, that just means that we have more time usually because there's no marketing deadline to get a really good technical blog out of it.
Sounds
But
good.
both are good.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you, Saul. So the last item of this agenda is more of informative item, and this is about next step of the CC messaging guide. And so a recap of what's going to come next, and we'll address feedback within 1 week by November 12th. And then we will seek final approval at the outreach meeting on November 13th and the governing board meeting on November 20th. And we're targeting to have final deliverable to be ready by December 1st. And currently we're on track. And so we have this 1 week window for everyone to finish addressing all those feedback. So please feel free to review the document if you want to help address any of those leftover feedback. But I think we've already addressed most of feedback today and we're in good shape. So thanks again for everyone's effort and input. So that is all the agenda items for today's meeting. Anything else that team would like to discuss or have any questions on?
I wasn't able to unmute fast enough before the blog update was completed. So Sal, you might be working on for KubeCon the confidential containers blog, and if not, I will send a copy of that to you so you have it. At least it's visible to you.
Yes, please do. I'm trying to highlight that particularly next week in my talk at KubeCon as well. So anything up to date that you have on confidential containers, I would love to highlight next week.
Awesome. Yeah, and they're doing a demo. So I don't know who's doing the demo because I just was looped in like late last week. But I can get you all that information and just send it in one email.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think I have already, so I know that there's going to be both a workshop and a demo that we're coordinating. But if I've missed anything, I can still send out emails. Everything else I printed out onto a physical card so people can't miss it.
Awesome. I'll shoot that over to you.
Great, thank you so much. Any other items or any other feedback? And if not, then we can conclude this meeting early. And thanks everyone for your effort. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rachel.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.